Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!
In this corner from Northwest Indiana, proud graduate of Columbia College, ESPN Radio, 5'10", I think, 165 pounds, Ray Flores.
What's up, Steve? Thank you for the introduction.
It looks like you're in Hollywood. Are you in Hollywood right now?
I'm in Los Angeles, in Santa Monica. It's a wonderful, beautiful beach city on the west side of Los Angeles. You know, I do miss Chicago. You could take me out of Chicago, but you will never take the Chicago out of me, and that is a fact.
Said it yourself. You can't take the Chicago guy out of you.
No, not at all.
So we're going to have a little fun with you right now, and I just want to let's just start plain and simple. Since you're in LA right now, it's the last meal. You have your choice, Ray. It's either an In-N-Out burger or a Portillo's Italian beef, juicy with hot peppers.
What is In-N-Out? What is In-N-Out is what I'm going to tell you. A Portillo's Italian beef, but I need both peppers. I need the hot peppers and I need the sweet peppers. Okay. That is the best sandwich on God's green earth. I told my girlfriend, not that I will ever be charged with murder in my life, but if they send me the electric chair and they said, you have one final meal left, what are you going to have? And I said, give me a Portillo's Italian beef and give me a Chicago-style hot dog with that crunch and the sesame seed bun and that dill pickle that is so nice down the center. Oh, baby, give me that all day, every day.
I think Dick Portillo's calling. I mean, I know he sold the franchise, but I think you got an endorsement deal coming your way.
I love Portillo's. I will save a lot of money. I tell you that when I go back to Chicago.
That's awesome. Okay, so White Sox or Dodgers? Come on, Ray. You're in LA now. People are coming to Hollywood.
Who are the Doyers? I am a White Sox fan. I'll tell you what, I'm such a diehard White Sox fan. I was a little kid, probably 3 years old. My father took me to the second to the last game at the old Comiskey Park. And I remember watching Ozzie Guillen play and just being around there, watching Frank Thomas, watching the young team. If it wasn't for the strike in 1994, I think we would have won the World Series. I don't care what people say about the Montreal Expos. People were saying that the Cleveland Indians teams were nipping at our heels. We would have won that. We had the staff, Blackjack McDowell, Alex Fernandez, Wilson Alvarez, young Frank Thomas, Lance Johnson, a heck of a center fielder. We would have won the World Series in 1994, but thankfully 11 years later, we made it happen.
Okay, Ray, last question about LA and Chicago. The Lakers with Kobe and Shaq versus the Bulls with MJ and Scottie.
Look, I tell you what, they would have found a way to contain Shaq. Kobe was great, but Michael Jordan is the greatest of all time. So I think that Scottie Pippen would have been on Kobe. Michael Jordan would have been hounding Derek Fisher or whatever horrible point guard they had. Ron Harper was the general, and Dennis Rodman would have given Shaquille O'Neal fits. He did it back in the 96 conference finals. So I think that the Bulls would have handled business, no problem. It wouldn't have even gone 7, Steve. The Bulls would have beaten them in 6.
Okay, you've convinced me. Ray Flores, still a Chicagoan at heart. I would say the moment that I got to know you, of course, was a big fight between McGregor and Mayweather. Take us to that moment. You're there in Las Vegas.
Well, the tour in itself, so I was very fortunate to be a part of that entire promotional tour. So when the fight started, I mean, this is back in February when Floyd Mayweather, they asked him on Showtime, you know, would you come out of retirement? He goes, the only guy I would come out of retirement for is Conor McGregor. When Floyd said that, I mean, I'm traveling all over the country with BBC. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. Floyd doesn't ever say anything like that. Then it started getting traction. We were in Toledo, Ohio, and I heard from one of my bosses, God rest his soul, Skip Davis, who was a big part of what PBC has been all about, passed away a couple of years ago. And he told me, he goes, it looks like, you know, we're getting close. And I told him, I go, you know, when it comes to the promotional tour, because they have these crazy promotional tours, I go, I would love an opportunity. Fast forward a week later, 4th of July, I'm out with my brother at the Cubs game at Wrigley Field. It was our tradition when the Cubs were playing at Wrigley Field. Even though I'm a White Sox fan, they were like, you're on the tour. I left. This is like Wednesday. I left the following Monday. We started the tour in LA on Tuesday, went from LA to Toronto to Brooklyn to London on a Friday. Then I had to be back in the States to do a fight on FS1 and Fox on that Saturday. So it was 5 cities in 5 days, with 4 of them being Mayweather McGregor, and it was unbelievable. Best moment of my career. What I'll tell you about these guys that I really got an opportunity to learn is their work ethic is off the charts. These guys, every city we went, they would do an hour of interviews either before or afterwards. They were very active when it came to when we landed, doing media when we got on the ground. It was very, very rigorous on their bodies and mentally, and seeing the same person over and over and over again from city to city as they're trying to rip you down and everything else. These are alpha males. So what I took away is that even though both guys have a ton of money and lifelong wealth, they still worked their butts off. And that inspired me to, even if you think you're not doing enough, or if you think you can do more, it's probably because you can do more. These guys are set for life and have 5 or 6 generations worth of money, but they still were hustling and grinding and trying to let people know about this major pay-per-view extravaganza.
You're a Chicago area native, and let's take you back to Northwest Indiana. What was it like growing up there? And who was your biggest influence when it came to appreciating the fight arena, if you will?
Well, you know, Northwest Indiana, like the Chicago area is my home. Like East Chicago, Indiana is where I grew up, following around the likes of a guy by the name of Miguel Torres, who's a former world champion at 135 pounds. I remember growing up watching Angel Manfredi when he beat the late great Arturo Gatti. My dad was a very big part of my upbringing as a fight fan, because Julio Cesar Chavez Sr. was the man. You know, he's a god to Mexican fight fans. I'm a Mexican American, and to watch what he was able to do, I think he got up to a record of 89-0. And the whole thing was with Chavez is we were hoping he was going to get to 100-0. And lo and behold, he ran into Frankie Randall back in January of 1994, which happens to be the first fight that opened up the MGM Grand Garden Arena. Fast forward to probably 19 years later, that I'd be doing undercards for a Mayweather-Canelo fight, and to be able to be in that same ring with so many greats have walked meant a lot to me. But Chavez Sr. was the one that really sort of gave me that thrill of what it was like to be a fight fan, and my dad was a big reason for that.
Did you ever do Golden Gloves?
Right? No. I don't like getting punched in the face. I like watching guys get punched in the face and calling them, but I don't like getting punched in the face. So, I mean, I did, general sports as a kid, but I realized early on I didn't have much athletic ability. So that's why I got into sportscasting.
Columbia College, I actually used to be a professor there. That sounds fancy, right? As opposed to saying you're a radio board operation, teacher.
I love it.
Yeah, so Columbia College was a great experience for me as a teacher. What was it like for you as a student?
Columbia College changed my life, and I'll tell you why, Steve. When I got in there as a freshman, I was in the radio department. I was always talking boxing, MMA, because I was so into it. I was doing local TV at the time in Northwest Indiana, starting to get into the fight game. I started off in the fight game when I was 17 years old, announcing local fights, doing commentary in public access TV. I was terrible. Those are tapes that I hope never see the light of day. But I was always talking about it. So my professor, who I owe a lot of gratitude towards, and she really opened up the door for me to change my life, Cheryl Morton Langston. I don't know if you know her. She used to work at NBC and was a radio mentor of mine. And she asked me, she's like, she called me up. And one thing I've always learned from my father is whenever the phone rings, you pick it up immediately, because you never know if opportunity is waiting on the other line. She asked me if I wanted to do an MMA and a boxing radio show. It's so visual. I was like, I didn't even think twice. I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. So then I started going and doing, grabbing local fighters and interviewing local MMA guys and boxers. And then the Mayweather De La Hoya press tour came around, I believe in 2007. I was like a sophomore in college, and, I interviewed Mayweather and De La Hoya when I was 19, 20 years old and stuff like that. I mean, there's a photo out of my Facebook that I shared a couple years ago where I have slick back hair. I got a really horrible mustache, glasses that needed to go by the wayside, and but just to be around those guys. So that's what happened. Columbia College changed my life, and from there, I had a couple calls from promoters that were like, hey, we know you do radio. Can you do ring announcing? It pays, a couple $100. I'm like, yeah, I'll do it as a college kid, no doubt. And then Joe Goitia was the guy who was around there, the Total Fight Challenge. He gave me a great opportunity, and it just spurned off from there, and the rest has been a wonderful ride ever since.
But at 190 North State, you were at ESPN Radio. Tell me about that experience and how that just prepares you for everything else you've been doing.
Another guy that changed my life, who's the former program director there, Adam Delovit. He saw, it was like a year and a half out of college. You know Adam quite well. It's a very small community amongst the, the sportscasting and the, broadcasting world of Chicago. He called me up and said, hey, he goes, would you be interested in, coming in and, talking to us? And then he let me know that there was an opportunity for a sports anchor, a sports center anchor, evenings and weekends, working with Jonathan Hood, who is still a close and near and dear friend of mine. He's my radio big brother, is what I like to call Jonathan. So happy that he, is now with David Kaplan doing mornings on ESPN Radio, well-deserved. And I had some college classmates of mine, Chris Black, Adam Abdallah. So it was a lot of some Columbia connections there. I started off there in 2011. In September, I was there until August of 2016, and they treated me great. All the guys there, Waddle and Sylvie and David Kaplan, Jonathan Hood, my radio big brother, Jeff Dickerson, a guy who covers the Bears for ESPN.com. I have so many relationships that I still hold near and dear to my heart. In the Chicago, I covered the Blackhawks, the 2015 Stanley Cup run. I was on the ice when they won. So very vivid and fond memories that I will always carry with me.
All right. Well, listen, we are talking to the one and only Ray Flores. Now let's fast forward. What have you been up to during COVID-19 and this quarantine life? How are you surviving?
Well, you know what? When it comes to things, I'm busy. I love traveling, being on the road and being around events. So when all that stopped, I'm used to traveling the past couple of years, 100,000 miles plus when it comes to being all over the country and stuff like that. So when it stopped, it's like, how do we keep getting the message out because fighters' stories continue. So what are they doing? What are they up to? How are they dealing with training camp? What are they doing to try to stay in shape? When we started up again in August 1st, it was like, I missed it so much. You don't realize how much you truly love something until it's taken away from you. And I loved it. So I went back, watched old fights, how to get better, what we can do to make it go forward, how do we get across the fighters' stories in a better fashion. So that's what I've been working on. And we're in the middle of 6 straight fights in 6 straight weeks. And then we have a week off, and then we have 3 fights in a week. So I'm pumped about it. The more, the better. Bears football is right around the corner. So I get my Sundays to watch the beloved Navy and Orange. So let's get it cracking.
Ray Flores, Chicagoan at heart. Thanks for joining us today.
Appreciate it, Steve. Stay safe to you and your entire family, all your viewers. And, let's end the year on a strong note and try to be a little bit more positive amongst one another.
Absolutely.